How do? Yeah, again, it's telling me these hangouts are going away. Ian, and in fact, this has turned into Ian squared, but Ian said to me, pick an Ian, any Ian, said to me, why don't we do a Freedom of Information Act request as a how-to sort of a video? Because Ian Hudson, bless his heart, has done so very, very well with them. And they're beginning to make a difference. In fact, I don't know, can you share? You shared with me, in fact, no, you shared with Facebook some information about a FOIA you made about the number of prosecutions in the UK. Perhaps that's a good place for you just to tell us about that first.
Yes. I mean, I've done a few, and so I mean, I know like Simon Dale and others have. So I've just done little ones here and there, mainly just focused around my local area, mainly because of the fact that the police forces, they're all separate, and you've got to send a separate request to each one. So trying to do the entire UK is a bit of a headache. So that's why I kept to it locally. But yeah, you can, some of the bodies you can get national statistics. Obviously, the CPS was one. So we found out in the last week that in 2018, they'd only prosecuted one person using the air navigation order. And at first, and this is actually what we can cover as well today. At first, they tried to decline to give that information using sort of confidentiality and just said less than 5, which given the previous year, they'd said 2. And the other authorities similar, like in Scotland and Northern Ireland, had given figures of 0. I kind of argued the fact that they were being inconsistent, and thankfully they found in our favour. So, but we can see all that kind of process as we go through it today. So there's a few ways you can do this. Obviously, as a lot of journalists will do, they will contact these bodies direct and get the freedom of information request. And the reason they do that is they want to keep that information to themselves, so they can interpret it and present it how they like. And they can actually be deliberately misleading with that information they have, as we've seen in the past. Now, the site we're looking at today, What Do They Know, is good because the request is public, and that's good for a number of reasons. It's obviously, so it's open to peer review, so you can share the link and other people can see that you're being upfront about the information that you've received. And I think it's also good for the bodies themselves, and you save information being duplicated, because before you send a request, excuse me, you can do a search on here and see if such a request already exists, and then you save effectively costing the public sector some money repeating these requonsts. So if you put in there like drone or Gatwick, yeah,
I'm going to just put in Gatwick drone in actually, because as you've said that, am I supposed to have signed? We haven't done dog wardens.
You might be able to search it out.
What's this? A259 traffic? The Gatwick drone and Crawley arrest fiasco. Now, why did that say successful then?
Well, that means the person's got the information back.
Okay, 30 what communications of the Sussex Police? I'm reading out stuff that people can probably read for themselves. There were drones were the property of Sussex Police. What? Well, I suppose straight away, naively, here's a resource I should be looking at for stories. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's there. Sussex Police have 5 unmanned aerial vehicles. On and on and on. So anyone can do that. So what normally happens here? Now, do I have to register for this as you're chatting away in the background?
Yeah.
Before I can put a request in?
To be able to put a request in, you just need to create an account. It's really simple. You just need your name and your email address, and you don't have to put your whole name. You can just put your first initial if you prefer to do so.
I'm going to stop sharing. While I do the password, I'm going to stop sharing. I'll just do the password. Now you tell us other stuff while I'm typing, because you know me, I can't type and talk.
Okay. So yeah, as you're doing now, you can sign up your account. So that's very straightforward. And once you've done that, you can then go about submitting requests. I think off the top of my head that they don't like you firing out that hundreds at once. But yeah, you think of the questions that you don't think have been answered. And this is very good, especially for drone users, because obviously we've been on the receiving end of all the misinformation, often from freedom of information stats that have been misrepresented. So Well,
Well, you're one of this week. If last year prosecutions were 2 and this year prosecutions are 1, the headline is there has been a 50%
50%, yeah.
reduction in. But
We've seen that before with a 100% increase in drug complaints when it's gone from 3 to 6.
Exactly,
Which are ridiculous numbers.
I'm just logging into. Well, how much does it cost, Patrick? I believe it costs nothing, but
Nothing.
maybe
Free.
Ian can answer that. Here we are. Right, I'm confirming this image email and hoping you're not seeing any of this because obviously I don't want my Pornhub account revealed for all of this. Right, there we are.
Yeah. Anyway, what I was saying was this is quite a good one for commercial operators because it's always good to have stories to bring traffic through to your site. So, for example, you could get your local police forces incident reports, make a little blog post around that. You know, you may even be able to get the local newspaper to report it. So you can use it as content for your own website and your own little publicity. And at the same time, you can help the drone community. So that's what I suggest, that, you know, people think of it from that angle as well. You can do yourself a favor and the industry a favor all at the same time.
And now, again, Patrick's asking in the comments, how long does this normally take? Well, I guess we're going to find out, aren't we?
You normally get an acknowledgement, some of them same day, usually within a couple of days. And I think it's about 20 days when they give you information. Now, they don't always get to you in that time, but this site automatically follows up when it tells you when a request is actually running late for them getting back to you.
All right. What are we going to ask then? Shall we ask?
So you find the authority first. So we're going
to ask something about, unless somebody in the comments. Here's your chance now. If there's in the comments, you've got something you'd like to ask, you can ask it now. Otherwise, as I tweeted out earlier, I think I'm going to ask the Gatwick's in Sussex, isn't it? So the Sussex Police.
Yes.
Now, what would I put here? Sussex.
Just the Sussex Police and see what comes back.
Sussex Police. Oh, Sussex Police and Crime Commissioner.
That's the commissioner. I don't think we want that. I think we want
Safe Roads Police Authority.
Yeah.
Sussex Police or Police? Because Sussex Police Authority's got 19.
Okay, so Sussex Police, then it's just put that
635 there. All right, make a request. Summary. Oh gosh, dear Sussex Police, love
so
Gary.
Just put, cost of
the Battle of Gatwick. I better not put that.
No.
Gatwick.
Drone incident up to June, which is where we are now.
Until June 2019.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you just put cost, they might refer you back to a request someone's made 3 months ago and direct you to that.
Right. So what am I going to say to him now then? Dear Sussex Police, that's nice, isn't it? That's me as well. Oh, that's very pleasant.
So it completes it for you to start with. So all you have to do is put the question in there.
Well, what really is the question? Is it the what cost would they have in overtime? What cost? Because I'm guessing that this is where you've got to be a little bit clever with it. You can't just say how much did it cost, or can you?
Well, but what's been the overall cost to Sussex Police?
Cost to date of the. Oh, we better. When did that actually happen? That thing.
That was December. It was December, wasn't it?
Was it? Yes, it was just before 2018.
I think it was the 20th.
Drone incident at Gatwick Aerodrome. I'm going to say aerodrome because it's a nice old word that we don't use much anymore. Yeah. What has been the cost to date to Sussex Police?
Yes.
Or to
Sussex Police for investigating.
The cost to date to Sussex Police of invest. You can see I can't spell or type. Investigating. No, come on, that's not right. Investigating. What's because of such investigating the December. It doesn't like the word aerodrome. Aerodrome question mark, of course. So is this all you do on your requests? Is there as much as this?
So
Oh, as Patrick says, it messed up. I'm going to say P.S. It messed up Patrick's whole Boxing Day celebration. Is that what I need to put?
Is this all to satisfy Patrick, just to make sure he gets revenge back?
Yeah.
Is that what this is?
Well, do I really want to ask this? Well, I guess the police wouldn't know. I guess what I would like to know is, because Gatwick has been. But we'll send this. Shall we just? Is it enough? And we'll send it.
If you want, you can make it a two-part question. You can put how many suspects did the police identify, and how many have been interviewed today? If you want to be cheeky, stick to it.
And you could word it as cost in police man hours.
Oh, there we go. In man hours.
I'd just ask for pure cost, because there might be.
Okay, all right.
It might allow them to get out of including some costs that were not considered.
Well, is this really the secret to this? Is a bit like SEO for websites. Is creating a question with the least amount of wiggle room.
Yes, and they'll come back to you if they want you to be more specific. At which point you can then sort of answer the question and delve down more specifically.
How many suspects were interviewed?
No, how many suspects were identified?
Okay.
And of those, how many have been interviewed?
Oh, very interesting.
How many have been? Now you're watching Typing live on YouTube. How many interviewed? Question mark. So, how many suspects were identified, and of those, how many have been interviewed? Yours faithfully. Have a lovely Christmas 2020. Get all to that. You reckon? So, are there actually rules? What does it say here on the right? Words request every time. Keep it focused. You're more likely. Okay, well, that's fair enough. Well, all right then. So let's send this away. Oh, look at that! Shambolic arrest of the Crawley couple. That's a good one. Gatwick drone. Ed Williams, Michael Richards. Michael Richards has put 2 in. All right. Well, let's just preview it then, and see if this gets. So this is how you generally do it, Ian. Is using this website. This is your protocol.
It's open to everybody to look at then, and I think that works in good for 2 ways. Obviously, the peer review, and also the organisation themselves know this is on a public website, so it might make them less inclined to give you a snotty response.
Shall we send and publish my request then? Is that all it is?
Yes.
Well, there we go.
Boom.
Booyaka, and the other cost of drug capture until June.
You see it down there, and you've got actions here which you don't need to do for now, but you can later on. So when
I click here,
yeah,
send the follow up. Okay, update the status.
What you'll be prompted to do once there's a reply, it will ask you to update the status of this request. So you can put that you've had a response, but not the answer, because usually they have a response first, say, thank you for your request, we're dealing with it. So normally you just put that you've had an acknowledgement, and then when you get your reply back, you can put whether, you've got a number of choices when you find your final reply back. You can put that you've had the entire request answered. So say, for example, here, they might say, well, we'll give it cost, but we're not answering about the suspects, in which case you would put that it was partially completed. If they gave you all the information, you would put that it was fully completed. They might just say, we're not going to answer it, in which case you can then you can basically escalate it for an internal review. So if you think there's good grounds for this to be answered, then you can, basically fight your corner on that, and it will then come back. And sometimes you will get it. Usually, you'll get some movement. So either you'll get a partial movement with some of the information you needed, or you'll get it all. I don't think I've had one yet where they've just said no, they were right in the first place, but there's always the chance of that.
I don't know if Patrick's still in the comments, but he's put in lots of freedom of information requests in America, and some of them have taken forever to be answered, to the point that the storyline has very, very much moved on, and people have forgotten what on earth we were asking about.
I suppose that's the game, isn't it? When they don't have to do it in a certain period of time, they can actually slow the narrative that way, can't they?
Yeah,
Actually, Patrick's just put in a comment 6 years plus for some of them.
No, you'll get a response back. Well, whether you'll get the very helpful
what you want,
is another matter. The ones that seem to be most difficult, HM prisons, which is it's a bit frustrating really, because they're one of the ones again that add to the, or they don't, they sit at the sidelines without countering the drone narrative. The drone narrative works very well for them because a lot of the fact of contraband getting in is failures in their own processes. You know, it's through staff, it's through the mail room. So drones make a very nice distraction for them. So when you try and push them for how many members of staff have been caught smuggling contraband and such like, they really just don't want to reply and they just try and wiggle out of it.
Yeah, I suspect for every gram that gets dropped off by a drone, it's 100 kilos has gone through every other way. But it looks good on paper to go, oh, drones flying over prisons, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I've just put the link into whatdotheyknow.com in the live chat. And to recap, the reason we're doing this is, as an industry, or Ian suggested we do this, and correct me if I'm wrong in this, but as an industry, we are being hauled over the coals for lots of very not good reasons. And we really need to hold these people accountable. If they're saying things, then we need to say, well, great, prove it. I mean, something's dangerous, it's dangerous, and we're all down for safety. We're not down for being dangerous, but don't tar us all with the same brush or make stuff up.
Yeah, I mean, a good example with the police forces. Have a look at West Yorkshire Police and their replies. They're quite helpful. And what they'll do is they'll not only give you the count, so you can say how many calls have you had on the subject, you know, how many incidents have you had logged regards drones, but you can also ask for the call log, so you'll get every single call. They'll redact a bit of information that obviously can identify the person, but then you can actually analyze those calls and see if the counts are correct, which is handy. But also what the press don't do and what you should do is you should request other, and you know, I'll say other antisocial. I don't think drones are particularly antisocial, but you can look for complaints that are relatively trivial and compare them against drones. So I ask for stats on snowballs, and I ask
some bloke called I Hudson here.
Yeah.
I Hudson fellow.
There's another one. I tell you, he's a pain in the ass, isn't he? Honest to God.
Who is this? Oh, here's someone else. Dave. Let's have a look at Dave James's one then, because he's probably a reasonable fellow. What did he say?
I just downloaded the stats for Dyfed Powys Police, actually, which were already requested by Lee, actually, off one of the groups.
Oh, yes, Lee did the entire UK for 2017.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just how many have you got? So that's not that wow, but
they've refused it there anyway, haven't they? Oh, he's put it to the wrong authority anyway, hasn't he? He's done it to the Crime Commissioner.
Yes, dear West Yorkshire Police and Crime Commissioner. So you go, and then I've liaised with West Yorkshire Police
because it's 2013.
Yeah, okay. It's a long time ago, and it also says if you've got any problems, call Ian. He's a bloody busybody. That's what it says there, something like that.
You're top of the list now, Gary. When you search under drone, it comes to the top of the list.
It'll be the most recent one first.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that. Well, yeah, all right. Let's, other than getting me there, let's hope that because I was surprised. Yeah, I mean, similarly, if we can now, we can do this. FOIA 1 drone statistics request to Northamptonshire Police. If we can do this, Mrs. Miggins can complain about something going through her, or find out about something going through greenhouses and things like that. So, like, hi, we need your help. This person read the following hasn't told us whether or not it's successful.
So this is the status, like I mentioned, you should do after you've sent one of these off.
Yes. So this is, I'm a student in my final year at Staffordshire. How many? Oh, he's asking the same questions of you. How many incidents? 25th. So here's the Michael Bailey's 20 working days.
So Ian, they have to respond within 20 working days.
That's what they're supposed to do, but they don't always. So,
Okay.
you will normally get an acknowledgement back saying, "I'm sorry, this is taking longer than normal," and then you'll finally get it back.
And there's no, they can't charge you for this information,
No,
or
no.
there's no
I mean,
nominal charge.
This site's run really by some volunteers, so they ask for contributions. It's something really we should all chip a little bit in because it's a good service that they're doing. But yeah, there's no onus, so there's no nagging emails. There's no spam that I've ever seen from it. It's just that's what it says on the tin.
It's interesting because if you wanted to get your own personal data from a company, they can charge you a tenner.
Yeah,
which is a funny situation, isn't it?
Well, that was one of the things that said you can't ask information about yourself. It did say that.
Because it gets printed publicly on here, so yeah, you wouldn't be able to get that. So it's more general overall statistics.
Well, here's their numbers. Look, 187. But you have, of course, also unpacked that that of that 107, it might be man in road walking with drone or drone stolen, or it's a function of the search, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I never just ask for counts when it comes to the incidents with drones. I want to see the call logs as well, because you can look at them, and if you find, I mean, it's funny actually. This was a conversation that had happened in the last few weeks on Facebook, where one of the PIFCO pilots said, "Well, when you call up and you say that, well, I'm having a flight," that the police, that statistic gets used against. It gets used against. It gets counts as a drone call, and people were saying to him, "No, you're talking nonsense. That doesn't happen." And we know very well it does, because we've seen it in the call logs on previous years with counts. Now, I know certainly West Yorkshire Police, when it flagged to them that there were calls in there they shouldn't have been, they do it. Funnily enough, with this, it's all, they run a database query, but then they've got to go through it manually. But certainly this year, for 2018, there weren't any PIFCO calls in it. So I think if you do let the police know when the PIFCO calls have been included, hopefully those will then get filtered out for future years. So
PIFCO call, just to make sure that people understand, a PIFCO call being a commercial operator in the UK saying, "Hello, I'm going to fly my drone here," and that will get added to the numbers. There's a drone call. Yeah. So if you do that in the centre of London, there'd probably be thousands, well, not thousands, but hundreds of calls, because lots of people are flying commercially in there. Now, Devon and Somerset. I went for West Wales then, because I wanted to see what the other Ian had done.
I'm severely lacking compared to our friend here. He's an absolute warrior on this stuff, but trust me, I'm going to put a few in later.
No. What I meant was people finding you for prosecution. That's what I know. Not that you put these things in. Kent Police. That's interesting. If I put West Wales in, it comes in from all.
It will just catch the word police if it hasn't got any other match.
Yeah, David Powis. You want to search?
David. Okay, hang on. How do we do that first bit? Tell me how we do that first bit.
DYFED.
Powis. And let's just put drone in if we get the word. Police. Oh, and the answer is not a lot. It's like watching paint dry now, isn't it? It's very interesting, isn't it? Drone reports by Lee Ballard. Come on down.
Yeah, I say he went through the entire of the UK with the forces to just have a look at the individual call logs. I don't think he's finished that task yet, because there's just so many to go through. Mr.
Mantle. Do we know Mr. Mantle?
Nope.
Well, he's putting in how many complaints have there been. Well, we can leave
there's a few HTML, and then there's download. So there's no go back.
Yeah.
No, back down. Oh yeah, that might. Well, yeah. I don't know.
This one.
Yeah.
Here's HTML. Final response. Okay.
That will normally be the response back. So that will be where the numbers are.
2015 and 2016. He was early Mona.
Yeah.
And is that these which details of which are as follows? Well, that means nothing, is it? complaints stroke calls regarding drones. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, were they all complaints, or were they man with drone, or were they? We've no idea whether
You would need to say, I'd need to see the call logs on that and then determine whether it was legitimate or not.
So is that what you would do next? Is you'd say, now can I have, and within this thread, then within this question, you'd say, well, can we have the call logs?
Yeah, I think they call it incident logs, and then and I normally just say, although it should be obvious, but I just add, obviously you can redact any personal information from the calls, just so they don't come straight back and say, well, we can't do it because there's personal information, and then they can do it. They can just, get a mark over it and hide it.
It's very interesting because that's very early doors, isn't it? If we look at that,
it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
I moved away from it, but yeah, he is. He was
very
2015, 2016.
I mean, it might be that he's somebody that was a commercial pilot and wanted to just have a nosy and see what it was like, maybe to counter the argument. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. It could just be a local press reporter, but I say they normally do it direct, so because they want to have the scoop on the stories, they don't want other people seeing their request.
No.
Yes. All right. Let's just go for the word drone then, and see what happens.
You see there, it says everything up there. If you just do a request, because obviously someone's put drone in their name, so if you've got showing at the top, you can just do that. So you can exclude.
Oh, hang on, I'm not following. Here, over here, where it says drone.
Well, below that it says showing, and you just click request, and then it will.
Request. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Successful, unsuccessful, all of them.
I guess you probably want to see them all, wouldn't you?
So, well, let's just tick them all. Let's see what happens. And then I've got to click filter. No,
probably.
So Daniel Levine's 2018. They're not all that new, are they?
Yeah.
Who's Daniel Levine's then? Let's have a look at them. No, let's have a look. Warwickshire's very nice. Let's have a look at Warwickshire. I like Warwickshire. Oh, it's a student again. Okay, so that student has made that same request all over the place.
Yeah, maybe he'd have done something across the country or something just to complete his coursework.
There we are. There's this. Let's have a look at this Hudson guy's one before we go then. And Patrick's saying it would be nice if we had an organised effort. It would, wouldn't it? Really, like that student. It would be exactly very nice. Oh, Dr. Alan McKenna. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so he'd obviously reported in the press, and this got used to batter drones from national papers right through to local at the time, where it was just numbers. And obviously, when we went to look at them in detail, it turned out those included the PIFCO calls, and those included fireworks in the sky and everything else being counted as drones. So you could actually take some off it.
This is your list.
So here you go. So these are the call logs here. So you see where they've redacted personal information, but you can have a look at them and see, was this genuine?
Caller is concerned as someone is flying a drone in the area. Caller has described it as a big drone, 1.5 to 2 feet long. Log to close.
But you see, a lot of this, it's just people don't know that they're doing anything wrong. They've just seen a drone, and just because the press has said drones are bad, they're calling up and reporting it.
Yeah. So interesting that is that 2 incidents then January 17th, suspicious circumstances. So what made one suspicious circumstances and the next one message?
This is the problem. You see, the operator will determine these differently. So that's why they can never just exclude it by the category when they do the reports, and this is partly why they need manually tidying up.
And it's still January the 17th then. So is it still the same one? Caller is reporting that last night was on a field flying his drone, and 4 to 5 boys and boys stole his drone, and that's theft from person. And the next one, Jan 17, theft, shoplifting, 2 drones stolen. So it's all happening on Jan 17.
In the press report that said these were all complaints.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with that is that all the same? Is that the same drone, different drones? I mean,
they're each individual incident.
Individual calls, so these will be separate incidents.
Isn't it? Oh, so, but why does it all happen? Was it a really nice day on January the 17th then? Caller is reporting an ongoing issue with drone camera. How do they know it's a drone camera? Been flying in their garden. Has been seen to be flying in their garden very close to the windows and their lounge window. Nuisance. About 5 minutes ago, there's a drone came down with a red light on to the side of the firework area.
Interesting that the fireworks were involved.
Yeah, calls reported suspicious drone activity at Locus location. That was, I guess, called the state's drone flying above their garden, which appears to be looking into their house. Suspicious circumstances. Looking through his on January the 17th. Why is it all on January the 17th? What happened on January the 18th?
Don't you know, Gary? January the 17th is National Let's Go Creep on Everybody Else with Your Drone Day.
I missed that memo. I've been out of the UK so long, I wasn't aware of that current festival.
Operators go out late at night with lights on their drones and start flying them around.
This message then.
I can't believe all these are actually. That's the date of the call with them all being the same. It seems a bit odd, doesn't it?
Wait there, is that not the date they
January 1917?
When did they pull the report?
Is it January 1917? And now it's February 1917. Is that what we're looking at here? Because come on, and then
it has to be February 2017, January 2017, February 2017. Yeah, cool. We're getting all excited then.
I know, but then on Feb 17, suspicious circumstance, the use of commercial drones is taking place of light frame helicopters. What the heck does that mean? But of course, this has all been reported. So, as you say, every one of these is one of the numbers that chap used.
Look at this here. Look, police generated activity. Drone will be flying at
I'll try and,
that's a classic operator phoning in to say, "Look, I'm going to be here. I'm doing everything legitimately and legally." Probably.
Caller was burgled 3 weeks ago and has found his belongings. Can see trainer shirt, clothing, and drone. So that's a returned drone.
Yeah, the one that we found. Yeah. Theft.
Yeah, so it's a theft that's gone back.
This is one of the ones. This is like one of the legitimate ones. You get very few of these, but these are the fair complaints where someone's saying here, a drone has crashed into my car. And this is why really what we should be doing, instead of going on about the database that was costing us an amount of money, is just have mandatory insurance. So for these genuine cases like this, where a drone has done something, the operator's not going to fear telling the person, saying, here's my insurance details, they can claim off them. It's just normal incidents as you'd have now, with your motor vehicle or whatever. But whilst we've got this strange situation where people can fly without insurance, if someone hits a car, they're not necessarily going to say, own up and deal with it, are they?
Yeah.
There's another one there, actually, theft of a drone. You've just scrolled past. Someone says they've just woken up to find someone has entered his property and stolen a drone.
Yeah. And that is just all the time, isn't it? Are you only seeing this? I thought I was only showing when when I was talking.
No, it's continually showing at the minute.
Yeah, report drone we find drone has landed in the school. Well, that would have been me all the time. It's call from a female. I mean, how I suppose we would need to really talk about all sorts of other crimes and find out what the police hear about all sorts of nonsense and nuisance stuff. Because call from a female reporting ongoing issues in the area, reporting both the drone she can often hear flying about. Well, that's a nothing, is it?
Yeah,
that's someone just making it up.
And I've been accosted in that situation twice now, I think, where I've been legitimately flying, and I have had quite the run-in with actually both times it was a lady, and you're spying on me, you're following me, and it's like, hold on a minute, let me land this, because the first thing I'm doing is flying. That's the most important thing to me at that point in time, and then we'll discuss this. And it was irrational. It was not interested in any facts or anything. So it's surprising. It's not surprising to see that. It really is.
What people should be asking for as well when they speak to the police is don't just ask for the number of drone incidents, ask for how many incidents they deal with per year. Because then when you do, you find that drones are 0.0001%. It's absolutely tiny numbers.
Well, you came out, I mean, with the figures, and you
I've
probably
done
said
it
it
before,
earlier,
yeah.
about snowballs and all sorts of other things related to that. So it is, yeah, how many drone incidents versus
Overall incident, and then a few trivial things to compare
something
against.
spurious, yeah.
Yeah, I've had
So
that
what's
with journalists when they've said, it's gone up by 10 calls. Well, that's huge. And it's like, well, no, it's not, because how can you say this is dramatic, huge, and even worth putting on your newspaper when it's less than snowballs have been thrown and complained about this year? And they can't really answer that because there isn't an answer to it.
I suppose
I can't believe. Can you believe? I'm sorry, Ian, I didn't mean to stop you, but can you believe calling the police to complain about snowballs?
They're a bit pissed.
And then mainly people having them thrown at the window of the car. I think that's
Yeah.
the reason they call up.
I think the key is, the big one is how many people have actually been arrested. That's under the A&O, that's the big one, isn't it? How many people have actually been arrested? It's minuscule. I think I saw one somewhere, and one figure in David Powys. That was it.
No, there's one everywhere, isn't it?
I think what we could do with, and actually, funny enough, I have asked for this in a recent Freedom of Information. Is just asking it. I asked for the Home Office. I'm hoping that they'll keep the figure or can compile it, of saying how many cautions have to be given across the UK. That will give you a better feel, because I suspect most of these will be the police. They'll have a word with them, or it'll be, if it's not more serious, it'll be a caution. And I think it's only if it's going to be something really significant then it ends up going further.
Because it also dispels this whole drugs drone drop thing as well, because we're led to believe that drones are flying over prisons continuously, yet they're not arresting people left, right, and centre for it. And so if it was a massive problem, you'd see the correlation in arrests as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my answer to that one, whenever it comes out, is I love the one method they have is they tie stuff to arrows and they fire arrows.
Yes,
There's loads of ways of doing it.
Over the wall.
Yeah.
There was a prison governor who was in the paper not so long ago saying drones aren't the issue, we should be worrying about it. In my time there's umpteen ways of getting contraband in.
Trainers is another one I've heard. They stuff it in a trainer and throw it over the fence. It's just like a shoe on the floor or something like that. It's...
Well, to take this completely off topic, do you have the same phenomenon over there as we do here, which is shoes thrown up into wires? And if so, what on earth does that mean? Talk to the old man and tell him what it means if you know.
No, I've had a shoe on my shed.
A shoe on the shed.
About 3 weeks ago, I think it was it was at least a size 10, and it was a work shoe, like a smart work shoe.
Somebody in a suit.
I've seen many shoes hanging from many lampposts, but they're generally in the kinds of places I'm trying to get out of as quickly as I can. So I have to word that carefully. In my time as an engineer, I've been on the road. There are many times I've driven going, why are there trainers hanging from that phone line? And then you look around and go, yeah, I think it's time to get out of here.
Yeah, no, it's exactly here as well. Yeah. You're going along and there's trainers in the wires. Well, that's a very weird symbol. Anyway, I'm moving it off. They do shoes on wires in America as well. Oh, is that what it means? It's Mac Vision 3D. Get your weed here. Okay. But then if you were canny enough, you'd go shoe harvesting, wouldn't you? And sell shoes. I don't know. Patrick's saying maybe it was a UFO. There was a UFO. They've come back in fashion, haven't they? This week or last week, and I think it was the US Navy pilots, and their reports beginning to be believed. And I'm afraid the cynic in me is wondering quite why we're letting UFOs. Why are UFOs coming back into fashion all of a sudden?
That's another freedom of information.
UFO.
Okay, all right, go on. Let's do that one. We'll do that one. Who are we going to ask?
How the numbers?
CIA. Let's do that one. That's what I want to do.
Last 10 years.
Civil Aviation Authority, make a request. Here we go. Here we go.
Cracker. Northern Lights UFO abductions.
Perfect. We had a very famous UFO reports of sightings for 2015-20. It's been done, so I better not make it. Reports of near misses. Mark Morgan.
Air procs. So Air procs asked for the number of UFOs for the last 10 years, and then you can see the decline. as people started logging drone instead.
Hang on. I've got to share some disappointment with you. Some disappoint. Look, reports of near misses with unidentified flying objects. The request was refused. So there we are.
Under what?
Using the MOR, mandatory MOR scheme. I'm pretty sure name is involved. Oh, this person you was talking about.
Yeah.
In accordance with EU regs number 376, 2014. Oh, he knew. Well done, Mark.
And what's
Dear
there?
Mark, bugger off.
So that's the standard notice. That is. What's there?
The next 5 working days, yeah. Is this the PDF? Is this what I'm going to look at here? Yeah. All right. Yeah.
What do they say?
Well, there we are. It's on the header. Here we are. Dear, he's got a funny email address, hasn't he? Right. Yes. That's. It's just saying probably no one did it. He is asking the wrong people, aren't they saying?
I think probably, yeah. I think, is the AirProx board on there separately?
AirProx board, all right. Let's go back there. What can we ask them? What are the sandwiches like?
I would ask about UFOs, how many they've had reported per year over the last 10 years, so you could see the decline.
Yeah. AirProx wearable civilization. Well, Mark Morgan wants to know. He definitely wants to know.
Again, isn't it? So that one.
Yeah.
I'd be inclined to have a look. Can you see what else he's put them in for? Because he
so
looks,
we go to Mark. All right, let's go to Mark.
Yeah, because he doesn't look the kind of guy who's going to give up, is he? You know.
Let's damn him, eh? Refused, partially waiting for customer care. Well, that's 26th of March.
I think this guy's been.
How many UFOs are currently registered? Yeah, that's it, Patrick. That's the way. 2018. He's got an interest in that one. Aircrew radar stations. I was at one in 1985. Bomb. But don't call me, Mark. Don't call me. We actually did put one in the logs. We put one in our log at RAF Chivener. It was in 1985, or was it 86? When I was down on the radar bit, and the boys in the glass bit at the top said, "You got anything up to the north?" And we said, "No." They said, "Well, best you come up here and have a look then." So we went up to the tower and had a look, and there was a bloody great big light up to the north moving across the sky. So we put it in the logbook. So there's one.
Yeah, Mark's been going through them all, hasn't he? If I look down the result obtained from he's gone to the Air Force.
Yeah. Why many air proximities redacted? Please consider the environment before printing this. Where do we get the answer to this?
Oh, look at this one. All UFO activity in Britain since 1945 was refused.
Well, you see, I believe we've come to the crux of this, in that the truth is out there. What are you? You're obviously quickly looking at something there, Ian. I can tell that with your muted microphone. No, I was
trying to wonder where the best place is to put the AirProx thing, seeing as it seems that the CIA seem to be avoiding answering them, don't they?
Yeah, and there's nowhere else for them to go, is there? Neither.
Well, wonder if they go straight to the Department of Transport, and that's how they're getting them done. Because there is a one here.
But the AirProx board is the AirProx board, isn't it? It's not a government. Is it a government department, or is it just a meeting of noble people?
I don't know. That's a good question. But there is a partially answered one here. Let's have a look. See if it has got AirProx.
Oh, this is a cracker.
You have to ask Simon Dale.
You can share it with us, Ian. It's that green button underneath the.
I'm just reading it down. It's the gentleman who asked for all UFO activities since World War II, and they basically say the public interest test has now been conducted, and the argument against disclosure considered to outweigh those in favour of release. That's they're not willing to hand it out. That's confirmation, is it not?
Absolutely. In our newspaper, it will be, won't it? Yeah. Pilots and alcohol. Hang on, let me just pick up my gin and tonic here. I understand the current system for catching pilots who may be over the alcohol limit relies on ground staff cabin crew reporting the pilot to the authorities. What about low flying incidents? What about low flying? That's another term? Yeah, this is going a bit off topic, but we could. But the bottom line here, though, is there is, as Ian's cleverly shown us, there is open information that we could use as an industry to help ourselves. Malaria season, exactly, Patrick. Let's put low flying in. It's actually winter, so it's not malaria season here, but malaria is making its way up. We're up 5,000 feet, but it is making its way up here. It's a little bit worrying. Hawk, November 2011. No, it wasn't David Hill before, wasn't it? Maintenance, UFO sightings in Derbyshire, gets low flying. Oh, the Banner fast jet flying in the Mac Loop. Well, that's interesting. Cost of RAF centenary fly past. Fly tipping. That's not quite very flying.
Sorry, I've just read something that's made me. Oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to be on this all night.
You've got to tell us now. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't not.
This is the gentleman who asked about UFO abductions around the Northern Lights, and he said, "Have you ever any record of anyone who might have been caught up in the dark mist or got dazzled by the Northern Lights, or if anyone has seen alien craft on the sea or actually claimed to have been abducted by aliens, and if so, what was the medical learning from this?"
Well, fair enough. I mean, that's a pretty good question to ask, really, because I think that's what we all want to know is the medical learning. Now, this is the Mac Loop was supposedly closed. Oh, from the Ministry of Defence, High Command. I wonder if we could ask the Ministry of Defence, Ian, about the number of drone complaints they've had, rather than the CAA.
Possibly, but you'd only have stuff that they've taken account of, wouldn't they?
Well, people would have to be calling them, wouldn't they? I mean, people probably call their RAF stations all the time. And this one here, let me put it up here. This one is about the Mac Loop. It just interests me because it's a bit nerdy. The Mac Loop is where jets run through there at low level and people stand on top of the valley and take photos of them looking down on them as they go past. And the pilots know that, so they do rather show for the camera. And it's just up the road from Ian. The other Ian, not confirmed result flying. Continue operate. Yeah, it was reduced. Okay. Well, but yeah, maybe the MOD is someone to ask stuff off as well.
I think the outcome from this is we've got to start using this data in our favour because everyone else is using it against us. And the one thing Ian has showed, and the guys who've been doing this for years, and I think these guys should have a big clap for the big fight on this because Ian's been doing a huge amount of work, always has been, and it's the data has been used against us, rightly or wrongly, factually or incorrect. It's been used against us, and we have to start sifting through that to try and find positives in that data. Some of it won't be good. The reality is some of the data will show things have gone wrong, but the truth is, and when we look at it, just looking through those reports, it's a very, very, very tiny amount of cases. It really is.
It's interesting that somebody put a photo into Merseyside Police. What happened to the drone you had, basically, in 2011? Well, I know what happened to it. They ditched it in the Mersey, having to show it off at the police club, having had a couple of sweet sherries with a few dear friends, and they put it in the Mersey.
Someone has done the same just this week.
I know.
The police force has, yes.
Yes. Well, that's interesting that somebody wanted. I guess that could have been a journalist.
Yeah, probably.
So how long's this website been going, Ian? Other Ian?
I don't know, to be quite honest, because I probably found it quite late on. I mean, I was only drawn to checking on here from, Googling how to do a freedom of information request, having seen data that, time and again be used against drones. I thought it's just worth looking at it in more detail and seeing if it is as it's being presented, which we know it's not. So it's just a case of, if you see a journalist reporting, especially locally, on numbers, it's just go and double check them and see if they're right. And if they're not, challenge them on Twitter. Journalists don't like that because they're seen there by their peers. And you'd be surprised how you'll actually get a response back, and even a bit of communication with journalists. And then, hopefully then next year when they're under pressure from their editor to do a story on drones, maybe they'll be a little more honest or balanced with their reporting. I'm sure if over time people do query it, then they will, because journalists like to be seen to be reporting the truth, even if they're skewing it a little bit. They don't like to be accused of that.
No, it was very dirty, wasn't it, in the early 2000s and stuff, where a lot of people were accused of all sorts, and they've all tried to stand up a little bit more and try to be a bit better on that side of things. But the good thing is the community, and Ian, actually, you've led this. I've gone involved on a few. The Twitter community around the drone operators is building quite a bit now as well. And the good thing with Twitter is you're able to get to them instantly and say, hold on a minute, you've released this. This is wrong. Where have you got your data from? Where have you got this from? And as you say, you even see things get retracted and moved around quite quickly now.
Yeah. Even if it's not full retraction, you do get the rewording. When we saw air proxies reported as being accidents, and it's like, no, it's not an accident. It's at best it's an incident. It's a report. But yes, it's definitely worth challenging. You do get some movement.
Well, by their very nature, they're not hits, are they? Because that's a different thing altogether. It's an air prox. Jeffrey Smith is asking in the comments, and we might have 30 seconds on this, Jeffrey, but because we really want to talk about it tomorrow on our normal 2100 GMT Drone and Sundry Hangout, is thoughts on PFCOs and the new EASA regulations. Well, I say, bye-bye PFCOs, you're not needed anymore.
Yeah, it's a complex. I've been arguing about this for 2 days. It's looking like everything's set to change. Whether you will need a permission, let's move away from the word PFCO because that probably won't exist. But whether you will need a permission to do commercial work for basic stuff is debatable that you won't. The chances are you'll be able to do whatever you want within certain specific categories as long as you comply. The big guys will still have to have it, but it's going to open the doors dramatically for the smaller drone users, estate agents, people like that to be able to work and get the stuff that they just can't do today, in my opinion.
And another Ian-based opinion?
Well, I'm waiting to see how the CAA interpret it and put it out in legislation, because until that point, you really don't know. I mean, I've noticed there's this guy on Twitter who's a CAA staff member, and it's only his personal tweeting, so they're not in any form official, but he certainly seemed to be giving the view that it's the end of the PIFCO, and that you won't need to have an equivalent for all the commercial work that you would have now. But obviously we'll have to see. We'll have to see the detail. But yeah, it's going to be more freedom, and that's a mix of a good and bad thing. But I think the important thing is, which we never had before, is it should be based on science. It should be based on risk. It should be based on mass and speed and those kind of factors. It shouldn't be arbitrary numbers where drones of completely different size and speeds are all at 50 meters. So that there is an underlying common sense to it. But yeah, so the jury's out at the moment until we get the finer detail, I think, for my view.
Jeffrey's saying about, is it 1761? I can't remember the number. The CAO published.
Yeah, I got it on my phone.
We've seen that, Jeffrey.
I've read it 7 times in the last 24 hours. Only 7 times in the last 24 hours.
7 times. Why not 8 or 6? Why not 8?
It will get 8 or 9 before I get to tomorrow. Don't you worry.
I mean, people are arguing about it all on Facebook. Everyone that's got a different opinion, a different market, is interpreting it slightly differently. And
how's
that's
it going to affect my school? I was just going to open a school. I was going to join everyone else and sell PFCO courses for 499 quid. So I'll be all right, won't I?
and QEs could still specialize because there's still room for courses on doing mapping and you niche
Well,
unique skills.
do you mean the useful stuff?
You know,
There's still room for courses where people are taught the stuff that will make them money rather than perceived nonsense. Oh, anyway,
if the document happens like I think or I interpret it, there will still be a massive need for them, because at the end of the day, anything over 4 kilos in a congested area will have to have an operational permission, and to get that, you're going to have to go through someone. It's this whole lower than that area that's really where the debate is, but it doesn't take away the need for qualifications. It doesn't take the need away for larger stuff. It's still going to be there. So, not everyone's doing work with an Inspire size craft. The big boys are still going to need an operational permission, and they're going to have to go through training to get that. So the NQUs won't go away, but I think it will change. They've been doing a very much churn out of people. Get your PFCO. You're looking at it on Facebook. Anyone who follows all of them, every 4 days you see, here's our next set of candidates, here's our next set of candidates. That will end. Frankly, the lower end of it will disappear, and they'll be dealing probably with the bigger players. But again, it's all hearsay, it's all interpretation. What I read is different to what Ian reads and what everyone else,
Yeah, it is interesting in a time where we see. Last week we spoke on our Drone Hungry weekly hangout, 2100 GMT every Tuesday. I briefly mentioned the people checking out in the big helicopter platforms in Switzerland. That's where it's going, really, isn't it? You see the estate agents, they're down one end of the street and they're sorted out, and as long as they pass their online test, away they go. Easy wizzy, let's get busy. And then the really big platforms that are going to make a lot of money for some big survey companies, they're almost beginning to comply with normal aviation regs.
I think
it's growing up. The market's growing up.
Some of the really interesting around the technical aspect, and I spent quite a lot of time reading the technical document on the aircraft and understanding what all the manufacturers are going to do. And they've got some work, nothing terrible, but there is, the current crop of craft won't comply as they are today. So
that was exactly my thoughts. It's like, oh, and what can do all this? That was exactly my thought on that, and that is going to be interesting to see how. There's plainly going to be several years of waivers and wave through platform X, Y, and Z for whatever historic reasons. But the bigger manufacturers are going to have to pay greater attention. But some of them have pushed for it, of course, because they do want to shut the door on others coming up behind them. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes down. Canada has this problem, doesn't it? Because it has that list of approved craft, and only was it 3 weeks ago, DJI just made it onto that list. Yeah. So until then, you couldn't have flown a DJI thing.
No, I think from what I understand, the interesting difference between Canada and UK is, whereas Canada, they've been able to certify. It won't happen under the Euro regs. There will have to be hardware change within the aircraft for that to happen. So that's something all of the manufacturers are going to have to deal with, no matter who they are. And 2020, 2021 is going to be a big year for aircraft releases. You're going to see aircraft from every manufacturer in preparation for this scheme. They're not going to do it this year, that's for sure.
Well, I suppose it's simple. Before we must go into it, we'll talk about this tomorrow, because we were going to talk about this, just signing up the FOIA thing for 10 minutes or something. What we seem to have done an hour. I wonder. So, is the European market the same size as the Canadian market? I wonder.
I'd say Canada's smaller. I wouldn't say Canada's that big a market.
Yeah, I know, it's a huge place, isn't it? But it's all things are very far away. It's just so then they will be rushing to comply with EU regs rather than rushing to comply with Canadian regs. Make more sense for it, wouldn't it? Really. But we shall see. And then Patrick, and I should have called him in on this with a link. He says, "Well, what will America do, Patrick?" Well, I know what they'll do. You'll be behind as ever. That's what you'll do. You'll be following up from the rear. Who knows? as he says, we don't need science, we have lobbyists. And unfortunately, very, very sadly, in this world, that is the cross that all of us have to bear. And I could see a lot of venture capital funded companies having a few issues in a wee while, because the regs are beginning to pull some rugs from underneath them. And those VCs, I'm not quite sure how venture capital works, whether you can be upset and pull your money away or not, or just not invest anymore. But I can see that happening. I can see perhaps 2020, 2022. I can perhaps see, some quite big changes in who the major players are in everything. And Patrick and I, for years, have been ranting on. Now I'm going to finish this rant. Have been laughing about a thing that the USAF put out many years ago. I think when we started SUS News, probably about 2007, 2008, and it was a vision for 2047. And when we looked at that, it was just laughing stock, and people said it'll never be how it is, it's going to be quicker than that. And blow me down, it strikes me that we're moving at such a glacial pace that USAF vision for 2047 is probably about right. It'll probably be about right. Air Force, it was Air Force. I think that was the year, wasn't it, Patrick? 2047, I think. And I think that forecast is proving to be right. Anyway, rant over. Ian, one of the Ians, rant to finish this, and then we'll talk again tomorrow at 2100 GMT.
I'll let Ian do a rant.
This is Ian's show. I'll leave him.
Yeah. Just round up about freedoms of information requests, and maybe we need to have a discussion, maybe even tomorrow. If you want to come in with your comments tomorrow about this, dear viewer, then please do. But perhaps we need to have a sustained campaign. And can we make FOIAs of Europe, of the EU?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add, as I've mentioned before, is people to challenge, if nothing else, challenge locally. When you look at the newspaper stories, it always tells you the name, or almost always tells you the name of the journalist that's written the article. Always, even if they've not written it, it's basically they're taking it as this is my piece. And they're almost always on Twitter. So just, search them by the name, put the publication in, whatever, and you'll be able to find them. And then, query them. How have you come to that figure? And put in the same freedom of information request and interpret it yourself. And if everyone just keeps doing that, it's going to be very difficult then just to misrepresent the stats, because we'll be looking at them and they'll know they're being looked at and being challenged.
Holding truth to power, power to truth, whatever the phrase is. Ian's, thank you very much. Ian Squared, thank you very much indeed. Dear viewers, thank you very much. Wherever you might be in the world, join us again, 2100 GMT tomorrow, Tuesday, for our normal drone stuff this week hangout. And we'll probably unpack this more, and we'll unpack the UK regs a little bit more. There's a lot more to it than that. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care, be safe, have a satisfactory day at work tomorrow, everyone. Cheers. Bye for now.
Cheers.